Hello YouTube and hello viewers and welcome back to another episode of creating a 2D side scroller in Unreal Engine 4. This has been a wonderful journey so far and I'm actually loving all of you at the moment with all your feedback and etc. you're giving me. At the moment I'm getting a lot of questions about making a ladder in a 2D side scroller, so getting our character to pretty much walk up a ladder and obviously get to another platform that might be a little bit more higher. So I decided I'm going to throw that episode in now because I've got so many requests in forums and pretty much everywhere I've posted my videos. I'm just getting quite a few questions about creating this ladder system. So what I'm going to do today is actually show you how to make it. It's probably not going to be the best ladder system because I haven't had much time in making one myself, but I'm probably going to use the knowledge that I do have in regards to making a ladder itself. So there might be a few tweaks because remember I do this all I don't even practice this, I just do it, and then obviously I share it with you guys. So without further ado, let's get started and let's hope for the best that nothing breaks. Alright, so where we left off last time is we started giving some AI to our 2D character. So we got him to rotate and move in a specific range. What we're going to do today is obviously create a ladder in this episode. Now, what I quickly did just before I started recording is I just jumped into Photoshop and made a very simple ladder as a sprite. So this is actually 64 by 32. So we just have a bit more height in regards to the ladder itself. I haven't actually imported that yet, but I will leave the ladder in the description if you do need it. So I'm just going to quickly import that in. So into my tiles, import. We'll import the ladder into our game and we'll just extract that sprite. So just extract it into a normal ladder. Okay, and as you can see, if I drag it into the scene, it's just a simple ladder. We just start to just change the values here because I've got it in perspective. And now it's completely disappeared. There it is there. So it's just a basic ladder that you have, or just this very simplistic one that I just quickly made for the sample of this tutorial. So if you just play, you could actually see what it looks like. At the moment I'll collide into it, but in our episode we won't. Okay, so what we need to do is the very first thing we need to look at is creating a blueprint for this ladder. Okay, now in this blueprint there's going to be pretty much the same thing that we did with the character movement. There are two ways you can do this ladder system. You could do it by using overlapping, so collision overlaps. You could do it that way. Or you could take the mathematical approach, which I'm going to do. I find it a little bit more easier because then you have to, it saves troubles later on, I think. But either or, I'll show you one way and I can tell you how you can edit it if you want to do it with a collision. I'm not going to do it with collision because obviously we're moving more into advanced tutorials now. So we'll stay away from collisions for now. So we want to create a blueprint class, and it's going to be an actor, and we're going to call this BP underscore ladder. Okay, now obviously with our blueprint, I don't know why that's open on my other screen, let's just plug that into there. So with the ladder, obviously we need to create a component, and we're going to add our sprite. Okay, so our paper sprite, and that's going to be our ladder. So let's go and find it somewhere in here. Was it called ladder? I'll just search for it. There it is. Okay, so there's our ladder, and we'll just drag it into the default route for now. Okay, notice I'm not putting any collision in this tutorial. I'm going to stay well away from that, just so you can see different skills you can do. You don't have to always do collisions for stuff in Unreal. Okay, so we're going to jump in the event graph, and everything's going to happen in here. So what we need to do is we need to grab the event tick, and we're going to do pretty much the similar stuff that we did with the character. So the bad guy, how we found out exactly where he was. But in this time, we want to find out exactly where the ladder is to our character. All right. So what we want to do is we want to create a variable. And we're going to type, the variable name for this one's going to be called distance, or we're going to call it dis for now, or dis ladder. Whatever you want to call it. Doesn't really matter as long as you remember what it's called. Okay, now it's not a boolean, it's going to be a float in this example. So we'll compile and save. And what we want to do is we want to get the distance between our character and the ladder, just like we did with the bad guy. So we need to add a sequence because everything's going to work off a sequence on our event tick again. All right, so we're just going to add a sequence. And we're just going to get our distance of our ladder, and we're going to set that because we want to set the distance between our character and the ladder itself. Now remember, to do that, we need to get the actor's location. So in this case, the ladder's location. So get actor location. And we're going to do this twice because we also need to get the character location. So we'll just copy and paste that. Right, so we'll just copy those two. And off this actor location, we want to get the player. So we want to get the player character. Right, so we're going to get the player character. And now pretty much we've got the recipe of getting the actor location, so i.e. the ladder. And now we've also got where the player character is. Remember, we need to break these pins down. So we're going to split them. Because remember, we're only going to be using the X value. Obviously, in a 3D world, you use all three of them. In our case, we're only going to use an X. Okay. Now, we'll drag off this first node, and we're going to say minus. So we're going to say float, so wherever the ladder is, and we're going to minus where our character is, will then give us the distance that we require between where we are and where the ladder is. So we'll just plug that sequence into there, so we can find out exactly where that is. Now, we can test this because what we could do is we compile and save. We could print a string, so just print a string off, just off our other sequence node, just for help for us, so we can obviously get that distance, and we'll plug that in. So what will happen is if I happen to compile and play, and let's actually just drag the ladder in. So let's change ourselves to front view. I'm actually going to move the bad guy away because it could get quite annoying when he keeps coming after us all the time when we're in front of him. So let's drag the ladder on. Okay, so let's just drag that on. Remember, it's the blueprint, not the sprite, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, make sure it is the blueprint, not the sprite that you drag on. Now, if we had to play, you can see that it's printing off exactly how far we are away from the actual ladder itself, okay? But you'll notice that I'm going to collide into this ladder. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a sneaky little trick. What we can do is in perspective view, we're actually going to push that ladder back. Doesn't matter because what we're finding out is the X location, not how deep it is inside the map, but where it is currently on this X axis. So you could push it back. Now, if I had to walk in front of it, notice I'm not colliding, but we still do get the values of the exact location of where that ladder is, hence where it says 0. Okay, so if I'm this far away, and then obviously when I'm here, I'm obviously right on top of the ladder. This is going to play an important role in a second, so it's a very good idea to put that in so we can start testing. Ladder doesn't look so good. Sorry, guys. It's the worst sprite ever going. All right, so now we know where it is. What we need to do is we need to find out if we're in a certain range of the ladder, then we're going to do something. All right. Now, a lot of you have been asking me for some advice on Booleans. So today I'm going to show you how to work with Booleans in this session in regards to our ladder. Okay, so we'll keep that print there just for our sake, so we can always refer to that. So let's add a pin. Obviously, you'd remove that once you finish your game. And what we're going to do is we need to do our distance of our ladder. So we're going to get that. Now, remember what we did with our bad guy? We did that thing called an in range. Okay, so remember we did an in range. All right. And the range we want to have might be -10 as the minimum. Right, because don't forget the ladder's not so big. And obviously the maximum we'll have is 10. So basically we've got a 20 range there. Bear in mind our sprite is 32 by 32. You could go in the middle. That's entirely up to you what you want to do there. And obviously with that in range, that's then going to go into a branch. So if we press B and click, we can attach those values. All right. Obviously we're going to grab our sequence node one now. So we're going to put it into our branch. And what we're going to do is we're going to toggle the ladder. Now, this is going to play an important part because when we climb the ladder, we're going to press a key to climb the ladder. And if we have a Boolean toggling between true and false for us, it's going to make it very easy for our blueprint. All right. So now we're going to make a new variable, and this time it's going to be a Boolean. I'm going to call that Boolean, I don't know, let's just say on ladder. So that's basically saying we're actually on it. So we're touching the ladder pretty much. So we're in the location of the ladder. We'll compile and save. And what we're going to do is we're just going to set these. So we're going to set these Booleans. Right, so we're going to set them up. So if it's true and false, if it's true, so if we're in this range, we're going to say, okay, we're on the ladder. All right. But if we're false, then obviously we're not on the ladder. All right. So we're just going to, it's basically just a toggle between a true and false statement, but we're going to use this variable for when we press the key. So it's very important that we have this. Trust me, it'll make your life probably 100 times more easier. Okay. Now, obviously, I said to you we're going to be pressing a key, so we need to be able to press a key inside the game. So we're going to drag off this node, and we're going to say enable input. All right, so we're going to enable the input. All right, we'll dupe this, so we're just going to double that up. All right, so we'll just plug that one into there. All right, so we just plug them in. And obviously, we need to get our player controller. So we're going to get player controller, because that's who we want to control. Is the player controller. That's the guy that we're using. All right, so we're going to get that. Oops. Get that. And we'll plug that in into the player controllers. All right. What you could do to test is you could print. So let's do it. Why not? We might as well teach you the right ways. Always test everything to make sure it's working. So we could say on, and then we just dupe this again. And we'll just call this one off. So we can see if we're actually on or off the ladder. So on and off. Right, so we can see these working if we just print off the strings. It's very good to debug, I find, in regards to just printing everything off. So you can see it's printing loads and loads of offs and exactly where we are in regards to range of the ladder. If we get near the ladder, notice it toggles on, which is good because now that means our Boolean is now saying it's true. If I move away, it's now gone off, which means it's setting our Boolean to be false. And we're definitely going to need that. We're going to have to go back and grab these Booleans for the next piece. So now we know that we've got the distance between the character and the ladder, and now we've set a true and false statement which will allow us to have input. All right, so allow us to be able to press our key. All right, we can now set it up so that we can now use that ladder. Now this is a very tricky blueprint. I'm going to try and take it as slow as I can, but yeah, just make sure you pause if you get stuck. And then obviously replay once you finish that part. So we're going to add another sequence because we need to do something after this part. All right, so we need to make sure that we can start toggling with the E button. So we're going to do a key press on E. So if you type in keyboard, I mean, this could be any key, doesn't matter what key you want to use. In this case, I'm just going to use E. I mean, you could use P, you could use whatever you like, but we're going to use E in this example. Okay, and when I press E, I'm actually going to have a true and false statement. So I'm going to tell you why. So I'm going to branch. And basically I want to find out is if I press E, okay, I want to then do my movement, but I need to find out if I'm on the ladder. And that's where this is going to play an important key. We can say get on the ladder and just plug that in. Okay. So now if I'm on the ladder, so in the range of the ladder, and I press E, we can now do something here. Right? So we can now do something. But there's something I haven't shown you yet, or you might not know about, is that I have to actually hold down the E key to go up the ladder. I'm not just going to tap it once and then just keep going up. All right? I'm actually going to have to hold that key down. So let's just find that function. And it's actually called is input key down. Oops, so ID, I'm so sorry. Is input key, is input, why can't I find this? Oh, silly Wayne. I need to find out where the player controller is first. Sorry, so we're going to get the player controller, I'm so sorry. So we're going to get the player controller first. And now we're going to drag his value off. I'm going to say is input key down. There it is there. So is the input key down. So sorry. Okay, so is the input key down. And we need to choose a key. Now remember we set it to E, so it's a good idea to find the E key. So we just type in E and find it in here. And there he is there. So is that key down? And obviously this now is saying it has to be a true and false, so we need to put another branch in. I'm going to plug that value in. Okay. Obviously we're going to attach the true to this branch because we wanted to now activate the hold down on the E key. All right. And now our next part is to say, okay, now that we've got this working, so we know that he is on the ladder, we can press E, and if we hold it down, we can now do something. Okay, and what we need to do is, again, we need to get our player controller. So we're just going to copy this and paste that next to it. So we're going to get a character again. Okay, and what we need to do is we're going to use something called the set movement mode. Okay, so we're going to use the set movement node. So if we type in set movement. Oh, why is that not working? Set. Oh, it's not controller. Sorry. Oh my god, I'm making so many mistakes. It's get player character because he's the guy that we're affecting. Sorry. So we're going to get the player character, not the controller. Now, what we should be able to do is say set movement. There he is. So set the movement mode. Okay. So sorry for all the mistakes. I'm pretty tired. So I am going to make a few mistakes. So basically what we're saying is that we're going to get the character. So i.e. our playable character that we play with. And obviously we're going to set his movement mode. Now this might sound a bit strange with the movement mode, but we're actually going to change him to flying. Okay, which means he's going to levitate. Now I know it sounds really silly, but this is the easiest solution I could find for a beginner's course that we got going at the moment for beginner's tutorial. What you could do is you could break vectors up and etc. and do it +1 and things like that. But for just simplicity and very quick systems, this is what I'm going to use for this tutorial. So we're just going to set him to flying. However, this is not going to work yet because what we need to do is we need to add a movement input. Now, I don't think so it's going to work off here. So we're going to add movement input. No, it's not. Because we need to obviously get our player pawn. So get player pawn. Right? Now, basically, that's just saying get our character. But in this case, we're just going to represent him as a pawn. And now we can say add movement. Oh, there you go. Add movement input. Okay, we're going to attach that into there. And now we need to just break down a few values here. All right. What we need to do is we obviously on a ladder, we're going up on a ladder. All right. So what we need to do is on this value, we're going to find out his vector location going up. So we can say get actor. Oh, so many spelling mistakes. Actor up vector. Okay, which is basically saying get his up vector in the location that he's currently traveling if he's going up. So we're going to plug that into our direction. And the last thing we need to put in is how quick is he actually going to move up that ladder in this float variable. Now what I would say is you could make a new variable or you could put a value into here. I like making variables for everything, so I'm just going to call this movement speed. I'm just going to change that to a float. Compile and save. I'm going to get that movement speed, so I'm going to get that. I'm going to plug that in to there. Okay, now obviously with the movement speed being set to 0, that's not a good way to start, so we'll just set him to 1. And compile and save. Now hopefully if I've done everything correctly, when I press C and hold down E, I'm going to start flying in that location. All right, we're not finished yet, so don't think we are finished because there's going to be some problems and you're going to see why in a second. So I just want to show you. So let's go to our ladder. There he is there. So I'm on my ladder. If I now hold E, you can see I start levitating. But he'll slow down. Notice he's got to a certain location and he's now stopped. If I let go of E and move, I am now floating in the air. I cannot go back down. Even if I try and jump, nothing's going to happen. If I keep holding the E key down, nothing else is going to happen. I'm just going to float around around the world. Now this might be a nice little feature you want to put in your game. I don't know. But what we need to do is we need to set it so that it'll tick over and over again. And what I mean by that is that we're going to set a delay. So once this finishes, so once it's done its movement, we'll delay it and run it back. And it's going to set itself into a loop and it's just going to keep running around and around and around until obviously you release that key. So let's put that in. So let's put a delay. Delay. Okay, so we'll put a delay in. Now the blueprint's going to start getting a little bit messy because I've got to loop back to here. Okay, so leave it at 2 and we're just going to put this complete, drag it all the way across and stick it into your branch. So your very first branch. Now it does look kind of messy. I'm so sorry about that. I can't stop it from being messy. You could add reroute nodes by double clicking and moving the wire around. I suppose that makes it look just a little bit more better if you just double click on it like that. There you go. That's a little bit better, I suppose. Okay, so you can see where the wires are running. So now if we have to save and play, now if I hold down the E key, notice I'll just keep floating now. Even if I release the E key, I'm going to keep going up and up and up and up and up, and it's never going to end. I'm just going to keep floating forever. And the reason behind that is because I haven't got anything on a false. Right? So when I'm out of the ladder, what needs to happen when I'm out of the ladder? And that's a very easy fix. All we need to do is exactly the same thing we did here with the movement mode. We're going to select these three. We're going to copy that. And we're just going to paste it down here. And instead of flying, we're going to change it to walking. We're going to plug both of these falses in. So we're going to plug both of them. So this is saying, if I release the E key, then run this false statement. But also if I let go of the E key whilst holding it down, I then also want to switch back into walking mode. So let's see what happens. So compile and save and play. Let's go to the ladder, hold E. See he floats. If I release E, see he drops back to the ground. Okay. If I hold E and move out of the ladder location, he'll automatically drop to the ground. So now even if I'm trying to hold E outside the ladder, he's not going to be able to climb any higher. All right. What we could do, let's have a look at what we've got on time. 21 minutes. Let's quickly do it. We could start adding some animation into this if you wanted to. Yeah, I don't think so we'll go into that just yet, because that means I'll have to set up all the sprites and stuff. But you could do that. You could set up your sprites on your character. And all you need to do is you then cast your character. So you'll cast to obviously your 2D side-scroll character, and then obviously set the enums into climbing, so either going up or down. Actually, I'll put it into the video. I might as well, since we're here. So let's find out enums. So enum, we're just going to call this climb. It's going to be very quick because we've done these videos. So if you ever want to go back to it, you can. Let's call that climb. What we need to do is we need to go back into our character blueprint because we need to set that up. So remember, we get a new node here. Okay, so we want to set a flipbook. Okay, obviously we don't have a flipbook just yet, so I'm hoping that we have got an animation of our character that does climb. There we go, perfect. There's one. There's only one animation of climbing. Oh well, that kind of stinks. We've only got one animation of climbing. There's one there. Suppose we could try and use another one. Oh, there we are. There's one there. We'll use these two ones. Even though he's climbing on top of it, I will just use these two. So create a flipbook. Flip_climb will do. Obviously, that's a really strange animation. We'll just slow down a wee bit. So change to 4 maybe. That is a really strange animation. Obviously, you tinker with your own. But in this case, we'll just leave it at that for now. Okay. We'll set the flipbook in the blueprint. So it's called flip_climb. Should I call it flip_climb? Run, jump, idle. Did I spell it wrong? Climb. Yeah, I called it flip climb. Typical. Okay. Now all we need to do is then set it up to speak to our character. To obviously set our animations. And all we need to do for that is we just say cast to our 2D side-scroller character. Our object is obviously going to be our player character. So get player character. Okay. And all we need to do is we're just going to get. We're not going to get. We're going to set. Just need to remember what it's called. I can't remember what we called them. This enum. Character enum. Okay. So we're going to set the enum. So set enum. And there it is there. So set the character enum. I'm going to set it to idle because that's when he's walking. And we can just plug those two in. Compile and save. And we're going to do the same here. Okay, so we can break here. So we'll just break this one up just for now. So we'll put it in between here. And we do the same thing. So we just copy these. Paste it there. We're going to have to squish it up a little bit. There's not much space. just squash it around. Okay. We'll say, okay, we want to start climbing. Plug that into there, and then plug that into the movement node. And now that should work. So if we play, go to the ladder, press E, you can see he starts climbing. If we release, he drops. Very quick. We've already covered enums, but that just shows you that we can activate that for him to start climbing in that location. Now you're probably saying to me, Wayne, why aren't you showing us how do we, I died, but how do we set it up so that he can't keep going forever and ever? Well, I'm going to leave it to you guys. I'm going to see if you guys, after all the tutorials you have watched with me, to see if you can figure out how to do that. And if you can, please mail it to me. All right? I want to see your progress. I want to see how well you're doing. I will cover it. Don't get me wrong. I will mention how to stop that from happening when we get to that point of making another ledge. Okay? But for you at home, I want you to really try. It's all about just trying on your own to see if you can work out how to fix things and how to get them to work correctly. However, that pretty much brings us to the end of the session. Very long, very heavy in regards to blueprints, but remember, we're starting to get into more advanced features now into that 2D side scroller. So it is starting to get a little bit complex. But you can see that by using our range and how we can work out distance and stuff, we can get away from using the overlaps and the trigger boxes. I think they get rather messy inside games, and I like using range more than trigger boxes. However, trigger boxes would help you, and I'm going to give you a hint, for stopping your character from going too high. So there's your hint. Thank you very much. Remember, like, subscribe, and share with your friends, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you very much. Goodbye.